Hello and welcome to Conversational Leadership with Jay Mann. I'm your host, Jay Mann, Superintendent of the Creighton School District, and welcome to 2026. I hope everyone listening had an amazing holiday season and that the new year is just kicking off right for you. But one of the things that I know is that every new year starts off with New Year resolutions. And so today I have a very special guest with me, Dr. Lorisa Pombo, who's our Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning here in Creighton, and just an amazing human being. And I have her joining me because I kind of wanted to go back to a topic we've covered before, which is New Year's resolutions, but with a little bit of a different lens. And so we've been doing a lot of work in the Creighton School District over the course really of the last 2.5 years, but very focused in the last year, with really a lot of emphasis since last June. And that work has been in the area of shifting our mindset, of really kind of honing in on how mindset affects outcomes in the district. And that ties back to New Year's resolutions because, in reflecting on why we so often fail with New Year's resolutions, Dr. Pombo and I really believe that mindset is a critical component of it. So that's what we're going to share with you today. Hope it's helpful, and maybe 2026 is the year that your New Year's resolutions don't fall by the wayside. We're going to do our best to help with that. So with that, welcome, Dr. Pombo.
Thank you. Hi, Superintendent Mann.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to be back. I can't believe it's already 2026. I hope you had an amazing break.
Yeah.
But during this time, we did talk about how we're going to kick off this school year, this new school year in January 2026, and meet our goals at the end of the year. And also, just personally, what are our New Year's resolutions to become better this year?
Yeah, no, I think that's true. And 2025, such a blur, went by so fast it almost doesn't feel like it's even 2026 yet, right? But here we are. It's time. I know we don't write a lot of checks now, but it's that time window when you do have to do something like write a check or put a date on something, you're going to accidentally put 2025 and it takes a couple of months before you're like, oh yeah, that's right. It's 2026. So I know you and I, kind of just in our conversations around mindset, we've talked a lot about the difference between knowledge and skill, which are important. So if we're doing something like we're trying to change our behavior or turn over a new leaf, I tend to use the example because I've been through just about every exercise program known to man. I've, signed up for sports activities that are supposed to be exercise. I've signed up for gym memberships. I've bought all that home equipment, which for a brief period of time helps me get in better shape, but then spends years being a place where I hang clothes to dry, and then eventually has to go away. And so it feels like for a lot of our New Year's resolutions, they tend to fade. But the three components are knowledge, skill, and mindset. And it feels like mindset is the piece we never look at. So I know you know a lot about the difference between the three, how they fit into what we're doing with student learning. But also I think they tie back to New Year's resolutions as well.
Do you want to share your story about that we talked about, how to relate to mindset?
Yeah. So when I think about I can't even tell you how many years my resolution was, I'm going to work out, whatever it was, 3 times a week, 5 times a week, whatever it was. And I would always start off really well. And in the early days of doing it, the first couple of times I tried, probably 3 months in, it would just fade, right? And then I realized maybe it's a knowledge problem. Maybe it's that I don't know enough about what I need to do in order to become more effective at maintaining this. So I hired a trainer, right? This trainer is going to have more knowledge than I do, and they're going to impart that knowledge to me, and I'm going to learn about how I should be doing this. So become more effective, and I'll be more able to stick with it. But then, the trainer quit, and I got my second trainer, and that trainer quit, and I got my third trainer. And this is all in the first less than 6 months. And then at some point, even with all the knowledge I gained, I just kind of lost interest and stopped going. And then, usually it's another year before you figure out how to cancel your gym membership, right? But so then I had this great idea. Maybe it's not a knowledge problem. Maybe it's a skill problem. So I did a ton of research, grew my knowledge even more, decided I was going to build in my garage, my home gym setup, and I was going to shift to doing heavy weightlifting. And I was going to know a ton about it, and I was going to develop great skill with it. And I was going to bring in like all the best equipment. I spec'd all the equipment myself. I had an app that was going to help keep me on track. And that was the longest I've ever stuck with a single program. And it was probably 13 months. But then even so, somewhere down the line in month 13, going into my second summer, I was like, man, this garage, it's 114 degrees in here, and I'm tired of pushing all this heavy weight around. And is this even good for me? And I just kind of quit. So that's, reflecting on that and knowing more about mindset now, I was like, I wonder if the real problem was not so much knowledge and skill, even though they're important, but maybe more so the mindset is the real problem.
And I'm just going to relate that to SOFG and our DataWise work, because the first step that we did in SOFG was mindset work.
Right.
We had to first think about a couple of things. One is, what is our why?
Yeah.
Why is this important? So when you think about your working out, why is this important for you?
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming health and getting better.
Yeah.
But then also, what is your goal? Like, what is your goal that you want to achieve by the end? Be healthy, longevity, or lose 10 pounds,
Right.
whatever it is. But that mindset really starts with your why, what's your vision, what's your goal. And that also has to do with like what you have control over. So basically, you're not going to lose weight by depending on somebody else or blaming somebody else or having self. It's all about, or get in shape. It's all about what you can change, and not about. So I'll give an example before I go into mindset with our SOFG. But I told my husband over the break, I really just want to walk every day. I want to do something simple that I can help me stay healthy, but something I can do every day. And of course, when the alarm goes off in the morning, I don't want to get up and do that walk every day.
Right.
But I noticed that he would start walking.
Yeah.
And he would always go on a walk. And then I'm like, okay, I better get up and go for a walk. And so I knew that was something that was important for me, but I also know that I couldn't change him, or he couldn't change me to get up. But me seeing him do it every day helped me to make that change in myself. And what you find too with mindset is you can't change anybody else, but you could model that behavior or model what you're doing if you want someone else to make that change. And so we think about New Year's resolution, about changing ourselves. It's about your own mindset. And the other part, if you relate that to the DataWise process, that's really that first step of organizing for collaborative work, making sure our whole team has the same vision, the same goals before we move forward. Then that second step, like you shared, is knowledge. Like, okay, I have this goal. And for us, for SOFG, we have these goals. We want to improve in math. We want to improve in our reading literacy, and we want to improve in language acquisition. Those are basically our main three goals. But we need the knowledge to understand how are we going to do that. And so for us as a district, we did that by understanding, what does an effective math classroom look like? What does an effective language acquisition classroom look like? And the same thing with literacy. And we had to understand that and then start building our skills. So part of that was having professional development, having coaching, and building those inputs of what we're going to do to gain that skill to be able to have effective instruction in the classroom. And what all started from the beginning of the mindset was, what is our goal, which is our goals that we have set by our board, and then how the knowledge, and then the skill. And our board went through the same thing too. They went through mindset work, and then they had to build their knowledge and understanding data. Like, how do we read the DNA assessment or the Fast-Bridge assessment? And then they had to build skill by asking questions. And those questions have prompted us to look at the inputs that we're doing, our actions to make changes. But what you'll notice about all these things is there's constant like progress monitoring, like going back to your mindset, going back to building your knowledge and the skill, but constantly checking that knowledge and skill and coming back to mindset throughout the process.
Yeah, and I think that's powerful. And I think, whether you're engaged in an activity as an organization with a group of people, like we are as a school district that's trying to improve student outcomes, or whether it's a personal New Year's resolution, like I'm going to work out or go for a walk, there's a cycle to it in order for us to really kind of stick with it. And I think you identified sort of that cycle is it's not a one and done. You can't gain the knowledge and the skill and then check your mindset and then assume your mindset's going to stay through the whole thing. And so I think that's why we come back to the mindset work over and over and over again, because you almost need a reset of the mindset. I think back to, I talk a lot about, and I've mentioned it on this podcast a number of times, Viktor Frankl and Man's Search for Meaning, and sort of the concept that the only power we have as human beings is in that split second between stimulus and response. But you don't just one day choose that when somebody triggers me with a stimulus that I would normally yell at them for, that from now on I just won't yell, right? Like you actually, willpower is like muscle. You have to build it and you have to grow, and you need to break old habits and replace them with new habits. And so I think mindset is similar, in that you've got to really change those habits of mindset and shift them. But if you can get consistent in maintaining that mindset, it really helps you to achieve your goals.
Well, it also reminds me of the book Switch, which I know you've talked about before on a podcast.
Because you turned me on to the book.
So the book Switch is about, there's the analogy of there's the elephant and the rider. And the elephant is really about the emotional side. I think the elephant would represent the mindset, like having that vision and goal, and also wanting to do something different, whatever the goal is. And the rider is really like that knowledge and skill. Like the rider is kind of the left side of the brain, knows what to do, knows the skill and that kind of, and why this is so important to be healthy or whatever the goal is. But what you're saying is sometimes the elephant might say, I don't want to do that, because they're very comfortable with whatever they're doing. And so we find that sometimes that skill, the knowledge and skill, will have to override the elephant. And just to give an example, if you are wanting to work out, this is one of my favorite examples, and you want to outsmart your elephant that wants to do this, but wants to be comfortable, because we all want to be comfortable. If you want to work out the next day, and the rider who has the knowledge and skill, how important working out is to be able to reach your goal, you have to set up your clothes the night before. You have to make sure that you sign up for a class so you don't get charged, or you get charged if you don't miss it, so that when the elephant wakes up in the morning and they are comfortable, nice and cozy in their bed, that they know they have to get up, because the rider has already set up their stuff to be at the gym on time. And also, I'm going to get charged $20 if I don't show up. And so there's also, with this knowledge, mindset, knowledge, and skill, is like, how do you keep checking yourself and hold your own self accountable? Because even if other people hold yourself accountable, the ultimate person who is to change is you. So how can you, I don't want to say trick yourself, but help yourself, hold yourself accountable?
I think in the book they call it smoothing the path. Make it easier for the elephant to get there. It's easier to maintain your mindset if you make maintaining your mindset the sort of the smoother path. But you said something that really reminded me that when we're talking about working with mindset and this concept of the elephant, and just really trying to maybe not outsmart the elephant as much as make it easier for the elephant to go where we want them to go. There's also sort of this element to it where we can't change other people, right? Like, so you, in your example, you wanted your husband to take those walks with you, but you can't force him to take the walks, right? Like, if I wanted my wife to go work out with me, I can't make her do that. But talk a little bit about, because you had a really good insight on this, because we talk a lot about in student outcomes focused governance, the key phrase is student outcomes don't change until adult behaviors change, right? And then the supplement to that is starting with me, because I only have control over myself, because I am the genesis of transformation. I can't cause someone else to be the genesis. That'd be really nice if I could just be like, how about you be the genesis of transformation? But I really only have control over me. But there is a way we have influence over others. And you had a really good insight on this earlier.
Oh, yeah. Well, it kind of goes back to the walking example. And I'm quoting other books, but it was from the book, The Let Them Theory, which I don't know. You talked about that one.
I did.
Too?
Yeah. And I got that from one of our other teammates.
Yeah.
So.
And it's about you can only control your own actions. And so like if we go to the walking thing, say for instance, my husband did not get up, then I could blame him and say, hey, I'm not going walking because you're not going with me. And, you know, we probably do that a lot. Like probably
Right.
like say, I can't do this because of all these outside things.
Right.
But I changed because he was doing it. And it was kind of like what we talk in SOFG about parallel processing. So
Yep.
if you see someone else doing it, then you're more likely to do it. So if I want someone to change in my life, if it was the opposite, like if I was the one getting up to walk, I would have to do what I have control over, which is I can have to get myself up to walk. I can't get my husband up to walk.
Right.
But if he sees me doing that every day, it might inspire him to get up and do it. It's just a simple thing like if someone asks me to clean the dishes and I don't want to do it, but then I see them get up and do it, I'm like, okay, I probably should get up and help clean the dishes. But no one ever had to tell me to clean the dishes. It's just having that modeling and that parallel processing. So in our role in the SOFG work, whatever the governing board is doing, that parallel processing goes to our superintendent, which goes to me, which goes to the principals, which goes to the teachers. And so we're trying to also model that mindset that I'm the genesis of transformation. What can I do when there's a situation? So if our kids are not doing well in academics, instead of blaming the kids or the families, all the outside things that are happening, what can I do as a teacher or as a principal or as an assistant superintendent to change that? What is in my power? And that's a lot about what the mindset is, not blaming or trying to figure out how it's someone else's issue, but what can I do?
Yeah. I love that you said, what is in my power? Because, you know, I've had some pushback on occasion from people who have said, well, this is a way to just make us feel bad, right? Or this is a way to just kind of, you know, push us to push harder. It's really not about that. It's about how do I embrace my own power? Like it's a really, when you dig into it and when you get deep into the mindset work, it's really powerfully empowering because it frees you from worrying about what are all the other influences, and you're focused only on what is my impact and how can I be that's going to make it the most likely that we're going to have a successful outcome. But then when you do start to influence others because you're modeling, when that parallel process starts to take, your power and your influence expands. And so, you know, I think I've talked in this podcast before about spheres of influence, right? Like there's only certain things that I have a sphere of influence over. Things outside of that sphere of influence, I can't influence. But if I focus where I do have influence, then I can be really effective. So.
And I know our time is getting close to the time, but I think that hopefully it wasn't too confusing because we are talking about SOFG mindset, knowledge and skill, and how that relates to our New Year's resolutions, because all of it's about change. And how are we going to be better in this next year?
And how do we grow, right? And how do we become more effective? And hopefully it's a new year. We want everyone to be happy. And one thing that I know is the more we can embrace that power within ourselves, and the more we can have a positive impact on the world, that reflects back to us and really brings more joy into our lives. And so it's one of the reasons I'm so thrilled to get to work with you again in 2026.
Me too.
Thanks so much, Lorisa.
Thank you.